Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today bringing you my opinions on Star Wars Battlefront. Now I know it's Fallout time for a lot of you guys, but for a lot of my viewers and I, it was a special time when Star Wars Battlefront was finally released, as it's been 10 years since the last Star Wars Battlefront that I can actually remember. Anyway, I put up a Fallout video earlier, so there was minimal complaints, but anyway, let's dive into this and talk about it. And if the title already didn't give you a hint, heart-crushing disappointment is what Star Wars Battlefront really is. Now I'll talk a little bit about the good stuff first before I really get into how this game upset me, because I know that I was very adamant in defending the beta, and I'll get into that in a little bit too. So let's start off with the good things. I like the class system. You make some very interesting different classes that can tackle multiple situations, where I could set up an ion torpedo, an ion shot. So when I'm playing Walker Assault, I can shoot at the AT-AT and do a lot more effective damage, even when I'm on the ground. I don't have to be inside a vehicle to be effective on the battlefield. And that felt good. That felt really cool, and it really rewarded my class choice. And then when I'm in these infantry battles, I can switch to another star card hand, provided I'm a high enough level. And then on top of that, you can switch to your partner's star cards, and since there's about 24, I believe, it makes for some interesting variety where you can switch up things and have a sniper and a rocket launcher or whatever. But some of them are just ridiculous, because some of them are like homing shots that just rockets seek you out. It's ridiculous. It's going to be very broken over time, and there are just some silly power-ups in there that I don't see panning out well in the long term. Some of the maps are really cool and very well built. They really bring things to life. Obviously, the game's very nice to look at, and I'm kind of out of good things to say now, and I'm not doing that to be cynical or whatever, but let's dive into why I defended the beta so much and why I'm so disappointed with the full game, because a lot of you guys may be surprised about my opinion on this game, considering, like I said, I stood up for the beta so much regardless of the heat I knew I was going to get. And it's because the beta was impressive in my sense, because at the time I didn't realize that that was essentially half the game. The full game has 4 planets, the beta had 2. The full game has 11 guns, yes, that's the actual number, 11 weapons, while the beta has 5. So you get what I'm saying, where the beta itself, usually when you play a beta, I know most of the time it's just a public marketing scheme, but sometimes a beta is a testing. And I did feel for a multiplayer only game, this was a testing. And so I thought to myself that, okay, if they just properly expand upon this and give us a lot of stuff to do, then it should be okay. And I was a little optimistic because of all the modes they were adding to it that were new and fresh and not just ripped straight out of the older Battlefronts, and that there seemed to be a lot of, not variety, but there just seemed to be more to it than a lot of people were letting on. And I'll admit, in the end of it all, I was painfully mistaken, but I still stand by one thing, and it's that I feel this is the right vision in the sense that this does bring the battles to life with the effects, with the graphics. I know that no one likes to hear that, a game is not made good on its graphics, but in the sense of Star Wars and that authenticity, as someone who's played Star Wars games and watched all the movies their entire life, you know that that authenticity goes a long way with us fans. But for a lot of gamers out there, that doesn't matter, and I absolutely understand that. So let's talk about why this game just crushed me. And I don't mean to take so long to really get into what you guys probably want to hear is why this upset me, but I just wanted to show you guys that I gave this game a chance. I like some things about it, but overall, it just disappointed me. And that's because, as I was kind of hinting at earlier, it's so hollow. There's just nothing to the game. I have seen everything after 10 hours because of people I share star cards with. I can see all the star cards, and then on top of that, there's so few maps. There's only 13, and then there's only so few guns, and then you see that the game intentionally gives you a abysmally slow progression system that just makes you take forever to level up. So it takes a while to unlock these guns, and when these guns are slightly varied, where you have a 3 burst, you have a normal rifle, a shotgun, a couple of pistols, it's a little varied, but it's still, and I understand the Star Wars universe, you can only bring in so many guns, and I'm sure a lot of bigger Star Wars fans than me will point out, well, there's this gun, and this gun. But in my eyes, from what I can think of, it's going to be hard to put in like the Call of Duty size amount of guns or the Battlefield size amount of guns where there were endless amounts. I can understand that there would be a small count, but 11 is just absolutely ridiculous, especially when I saw 5 of them in the beta for free. So a lot of it was underwhelming when it came to unlocks. The only time I really found myself enjoying this game is when I had a full party with me, where I wasn't focusing on the game, I was focusing on what my friends were saying with me. so that I didn't have to I just had to shoot shit. And it kind of brought me to my next point where I realized that, holy crap, if this wasn't a Star Wars game, this wouldn't be anything I would be interested in at all, and probably be one of the lowest rated shooters ever, because a lot of people would just be like, it's just a pretty shooter. But since it's got that Star Wars tag fucking slapped right on it, it's acceptable, which kind of upsets me because that's an abuse of license in my honest opinion. But don't get me wrong here, because I love DICE. They put their hearts into this in the sense where you can tell with the authenticity that they do love this franchise very much, okay? And I know a lot of people are going to say that's hard to believe, but I have to say that you can see that they did what they could to further this franchise with the time they were given. I think part of the issue was such a short development span. They only had about 2 years to make this game, and I'm not excusing them, because that's not our choice, that's not our fault. We don't have to buy games that are made in 2 years, and I'm just saying that I feel like that's part of the issue, where they couldn't focus on actually making a good game, but instead, like every game that takes a small amount of time to develop, they go for the looks first to kind of catch you. But in the Star Wars sense, it worked. But like I'm saying, I'm just trying to give them the benefit of the doubt that they do love what they did with this game, but it's just not enough in the sense of content and gameplay where I'm done with this game already. I planned on making content for this game, as you guys already knew. I'm not. I can't. There's nothing to do with the game. Even in the single player sense, where I'm like, well, there's collectibles in the single player. Let's look at those. They're like these little like hologram thingies that are just tucked away on the map, and the single player missions suck. That was such a lie. They were like, hey, there's multiple objectives and missions to encounter and live out your greatest fantasies that are throughout all the movies. I'm like, oh, sweet. You know, that sounds like a good time. Like objective focus modes. Yeah, no, they are just pathetic. They are just the multiplayer modes on single player, offline. And I know a lot of people may be like, well, that's kind of a good thing because that's just instant action, but it's not as simple as that. It's like hero battles on Hoth, and that's all there is to it. It's just like get to 100 points or whatever the hell it is, and from there, that's it. There's no like, Luke, you must, destroy this generator or something along those lines. There was just no effort to put any context into what these missions are. It's just like, hey, you're fighting. You've seen the movie, right? Okay, cool. And there's these very brief cutscenes in the beginning of battles that are just like cringe. I don't know. I just couldn't get into the single player aspect of it either, which was one part I was looking forward to giving a chance to, because DICE did some interesting things with like the co-op missions in Battlefield 3, and I believe they did them in 4, I'm not sure. But some of that stuff was kind of cool. I know DICE's forte is not single player, but to put objectives in a single player mode, I understand that this isn't your forte, but that's, as a game developer, not hard to do. And so it just looked like both a lack of effort, but also just a lack of time to innovate and actually put things in the game. And I know a lot of people have probably already typed up the comment, are you really surprised? It's EA, and I get that. I get it. But seriously, if you couldn't tell on this channel, Matty likes to give games chances. He likes to be optimistic and judge when the game is actually in his hands. And that's what I do. I decide before launch if I'm going to buy the game, especially when there's like a beta. I'm like, okay, I liked what I saw here. I'm definitely going to buy the full game. But this is one of the first games in a long while, especially as a fan of the franchise for so long, basically my entire life, since like 2nd grade. I am now 20, to see it just treated this horribly in the sense of content-wise was just disappointing. But like I said, I can already see all the millions of comments now of people going, well, it's EA, what did you expect? And it's like, yeah, you told me so, but you know what? I had to give it a chance, and as a Battlefront fan, I know that a lot of people are kind of blindly fanboying over this game, and I know some people may make that same argument for Fallout, but with Battlefront, I just don't see what there is to defend about this game. It's just a shooter with a Star Wars skin, but it's not really a reskin. I'll still stand by that. It's not a DICE Battlefield reskin. But it's just nothing that will justify. I'd say like $20 is when you should buy this game, to give it like a whirl one day when it's on sale, to play it for like a decent amount of time, make sure you got some friends on board with you, and then you're done. I'll still be making content for obviously Fallout, Mafia, Borderlands in the future when I start collaborating with 2K, but Battlefront is off the list. If there's a Star Wars RPG ever around the corner, you can expect your boy to be right on top of that, because I've been waiting since KOTOR 2 for that shit, and I will be right on top of that. But other than that, this is it for Battlefront, unless, maybe some streams here and there. But these are my opinions on Battlefront. I put enough time in it to fortify an opinion, and I'm just happy as hell Fallout's out around the same time, or else I'd be probably crying in a corner at how disappointing this game is. Anyway, I'd love to know your thoughts on this game in the comments down below. If you do own this game, I definitely want to hear them, man. Let me know in the comments. Other than that, be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Links are down below. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.